hop was going through his like his biggest like downfall, like between the East Coast and the West Coast war back then between Pac and Biggie. Then it was going through that shiny suit era where, you know, all the East Coast rappers were sampling 80s music and, you know, dressing up in fancy shiny clothes and, you know, all about cars and materialistic things, which is what hip hop is mostly made out of nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Between the, you know, the Bad Boy and the Puffy, all that bullshit out at the time. But this was released around that time. This was Nas' second album. I wouldn't say this is a classic, like one of the best like albums in hip hop history. I wouldn't say that, but I would say it's a classic Nas and his body of work. You know what I'm saying? It's one of his best records, my second favorite record by him. A lot of times I can say this is a little bit better than Illmatic in terms of subject matter. This album was more about, it was more topics talked about. It was actually, you know, him having messages and his lyrics, you know what I'm saying? Him being a poet and his lyrics, which Illmatic was more about just being a lyrical MC, how many niggas he can battle, you know, twisted wordplay with creativity behind, you know, his bars and everything he says. This album was more like, you know, topics, you know, that he felt like should be brought up, social topics, you know, street topics, everything. So, I mean, this album to me is like on another level. Although this album didn't get as much good credit as Illmatic did, a lot of people said that this album was like his way of going mainstream because it wasn't as gritty and dark and lyrical as Illmatic was, which Illmatic was just straight up, you know, hardcore lyrics, you know what I'm saying, braggadocious, you know, type of shit. This album was more of like going through that. It was still rugged, it still had that Illmatic leftovers, but it's had that hypnotic pop sound in hip hop, because I mean he kind of went a little commercial with like one or two songs on here, but to me this album to me is like a breaking stem off of Illmatic, you know what I'm saying? It's not on Illmatic's level, but it's like, you know, Nas prospering himself as an artist, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like some of the tracks on here are just like fucking phenomenal, and some of his best songs are on here in my opinion. Productions on here by the DJ Premier. What else? Who else produced on here? Havoc. A couple others. I think LES produced something. Dr. Dre did. Just a couple other producers. I'm not even open up the, you know, the liner notes, but yeah, you know, this album has a lot of great shit on it. The highlights on this album to me is songs like I Give You Power, which is probably the best song off the album. Basically, Nas talks about himself as if he was a gun, you know what I'm saying, his prosthetic, you know, thoughts of him being like a trigger, you know what I'm saying, and how the way he flips the metaphor of him, you know, being a pistol, you know what I'm saying, a weapon, a form of a weapon. He really does a great job in creativity and making you picture himself as a gun, and what he's not also talking about himself as what he will be as a gun. He actually talks about also what damage guns can do and how guns are harmful, you know what I'm saying, and shit that guns do, it kills people, you know what I'm saying. Another track on here is If I Rule the World, which is song that's probably like the most popular single off this album, which features Lauryn Hill, which is basically a track talking about Nas, you know, his interpretation of if he ruled the world, what he would have to run, what would be different, what would be his way, you know what I'm saying. And beautiful chorus and hook done by Lauryn Hill. She did an awesome job. Them two really blended together real good. I really wish they could do another track together. Another song is The Message, which is kind of a song that's lyrical, but it kind of like takes attempted shots at Biggie Smalls, because Biggie took offense to that song, and he was like saying something about there can only be one king. Basically was because Biggie was always known as the king of New York,
Yeah,
So that
that's
kind
why it was
of like
in the promotion that way, and a lot of people don't realize is in the promotion in the big billboard, one life, one love, so there can only be one king. That was the promotion for the album. That line, and when you see that in New York, they had it on the banners everywhere. Nas album, One King. So they was basically sending that message out to New York. But Pac took that as a threat, and listening to the album, he think Nas is coming at him. So he's taking offense to it. Plus, the album is a success. The album sells like 3 million records almost. So Pac is, Nas got to go. Nas is the guy that's in charge now. Biggie's gone. I gotta take care of this Nas situation, cause I gotta be on top. So when he came out with Makaveli, it was done in the tone of it was written by Nas. Now, Makaveli album is spectacular. Jose Johnny J did definitely every song on there. Almost every track was done by him, but the Italian strings, and this is what Pac was talking about. Everybody's into this Italian mob thing, and at this time, this was at the height. The Italian mob movies were like Goodfellas, and Casino just came out, and everybody was affected by Casino. Casino came out in 95, and that was like the Goodfellas Part 2. And everybody in the hood saw it. In 96, in 95, in 96, it was on video, and everybody had the tape. Everybody had the VHS Casino. And it basically, all the rhymes, Nas' video was basically the movie Casino for Street Dreams. And everything was about Italian mob. So what Tupac did, all the beats mostly had that theme. The Italian strings. For Me and My Girlfriend, Life as an Outlaw, the same type of Italian strings on them. And Just Like Daddy was another one. And then he tried to do, Nas got praised for the song that my man was just talking about, for I Gave You Power. And I never forget when I opened the CD up for It Was Written, me and my cousin sitting there playing it. I had the portable Sony CD player, popped it in, we listened to the song. It got to I Gave You Power, and once we figured out he was rhyming like as he was the gun, it was just mind blowing. It was, man, dude, he rhyming like he the gun. Whoa, dude. Took it back. Start that over. It Was Written was one of the most creative albums of its time. Lyrically, it was a growth from Illmatic. It's not better than Illmatic, but it was a growth. Illmatic didn't have what this album had, and that was the crossover appeal songs, like If I Ruled the World and Street Dreams. If those crossover type songs that were related to a lot of different people. And the album was almost titled Nas Is Coming. He had Dr. Dre on the song, who did the track with him, and Dre wanted to start working with East Coast people because he was moving away from Suge and all that stuff. So once Dre was associating himself with Nas, that was another reason for Pac to start coming after him. But the production level, and it's close. I mean, the realest song that I ever wrote, Against All Odds. What a way to end an album for Makaveli. Again, the Italian strings, everything. It was the whole theme for the album Makaveli. It was mostly mob type album. And it was like a mirror version of It Was Written, and it was Pac trying to show Nas, I can make it the same album you did and make it better. Like when he did Me and My Girlfriend, Pac's like, I'm going to talk like I'm a gun. And I'm going to do it better than Nas. And I like Me and My Girlfriend, but it's much simpler than what Nas did. And I like the beat, because the beat was more themed on I Gave You Power, more stories. You're like following a tale. And the beat fit the actual thoughts process of the gun. Pac's version of Me and My Girlfriend was just a simple version compared to I Gave You Power. I Gave You Power was so much deeper that even though Pac was like, a lot of people like that song better than I Gave You Power. Like, man, I love Me and My Girlfriend. I like that song too. Because a lot of people didn't even understand what he was talking about. People thought he was talking about a girl for a long time. I'm like, oh gosh, y'all really blind. Y'all don't understand what he's doing. But that's cool. But song for song, my favorite song on Illmatic, not Illmatic, but It Was Written. Gosh, there's so many tracks on this classic album. I even like Nas Is Coming. People hated that song. Like, that's the weakest song on the album. I'm like, no, it's tight. My goodness, what would be the best song? I'm trying to think. I like Shootouts, but I think it's gotta be I Gave You Power too. So I Gave You Power was just so strong. Black Girl Lost. It's just too many classics. And Just Like Daddy is the Black Girl Lost version of what Nas did, and it's just not as fluent, it's not as poetic as Nas' album is. So if I'm gotta go with both, gosh, Makaveli got me through some rough times. Like, that album was just on some war stuff. It was wartime, mob time, and that album is hard to sell because even though Pac died before it came out, it started selling right away. It kind of phased out quick because there was really no commercial songs you could put out. Me and My Girlfriend was probably it, but that was it. They had the Toss It Up song and To Live and Die in LA, but other than that was really hard. They were like, how are we gonna sell this album? This album's great, but how are we gonna sell it? Nobody in a million years thought Hail Mary would be the biggest song on that album. And I am not a Hail Mary fan at all. Cannot really stand that song. People love that song. Dun, come with me. Oh mama, concrete sea. What do we have in now? Do you wanna ride it out? La 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 la. I said, oh my goodness, I cannot deal with this song. And I don't know how the people like, man, you gotta have a car, you gotta have sounds. And you play that song and you'll feel it. And it makes a difference. The song starts sounding a lot better if you got a car with sounds and you ride. And you get to hear the song in its entirety, like the way it was intended. And I'm like, well, it ain't that bad. It's just not my feel. But overall, I gotta say, It Was Written is the better album. And I'm a Tupac fan. It doesn't mean, for the people that's listening, it does not mean Makaveli albums suck and it's terrible and I hate Tupac. You young people don't understand that people can have an opinion and like both, which we do. We're just trying to figure out which one was the better record or better album, and It Was Written, I think, has far more range than the Makaveli album. But you're more than welcome to leave your own comments, and you tell your style who you think was better. We read them, we check them out, and we'll go from there. And I think this is volume 4, if I'm not mistaken, of the album for album versus album. And put some albums down there that you think that we should be actually debating on which one is the best. It's your boy Carcino. I'm out.